Hello everyone, and today we're going to be doing some tea-inspired DIYs, or as I like to call them, TeaIYs. The first thing I'm going to be doing is a candle scented by one of my favorite teas. You're going to need wax, something to put the candle in, a wick, and of course you're going to need the tea that you want it to be scented as. I'm using Tazo's Passion today. You're going to want to fill about a quarter cup full of oil and heat it over the stove. I'm just using your average run-of-the-mill pan here. Pardon the footage getting a little blurry there. Just pour that in, turn it on to a very low temperature. You're not going to want this to boil or start popping in any way. Then you're just going to set your tea in and let it steep for a while. After it's steeped and you're starting to really smell the way that the tea smells, you're going to cut it open and mix in all of the tea leaves. From there, I transported this into a microwave-safe container. I didn't want to ruin my mug, so I ended up using about a half of a cup of the granulated wax, mixing everything together, and using a microwave method to melt the rest of the wax and combine everything together. I did this in 30-second increments, and I put it in for about 2 minutes before it was completely melted. So next you're going to make sure the wick is out of the bottom. Fill in just a very small amount and stick the wick in. Let that dry just a little bit so the wick can hold its own weight wherever you need it in the center of the mug, and then pour the rest in. Mine was still a little chunky. I probably should have re-microwaved it a little bit before putting everything in. But to decorate, I just wrapped around this glitter ribbon, hot glue that down. And I use the hot glue to attach the name of the tea from the tea bag onto the side as well. And I think this would make a great Christmas gift. I think it's so great. It smells fantastic, makes me feel all warm and cozy, and yes, it does work. Something I did forget to do was I forgot to trim the wick down to the size of the candle. I left it quite a little bit there, so it's burning pretty quickly here until it finally gets to the bottom. But I think it looks amazing, it smells amazing, and I couldn't be happier. Next, I moved on to this chai tea soap, and you need soap, a microwave-safe mug. You don't actually need this colorant, but I went with the Tazo Classic Chai Tea for this, and some flower molds just to make some fun shapes. Make sure you chop up all the soap before you put it in the microwave and melt it. You're going to want to put about 2 bags worth of chai tea in here and mix it around. Here's where I wish I would have used a white soap instead of a clear soap, because it ended up actually making it look like the tea itself, and when the soaps were finished they looked a lot like chocolate. But I proceeded anyway, filled the molds, and once they had cooled off, I set them in the fridge for about 10 minutes. They just pop out of these silicone molds. Here's how they look. Little tiny sunflowers and what looks like dandelions are the second ones. I think they're very pretty in spite of the fact that they look like chocolates, and they do work. The smell is a little muted, which is good because I honestly don't like incredibly smelly soaps, but here you can see it does lather and it does wash your hands. It does serve the purpose. The last project I'm going to be doing is a tea bag holder for the side of the mug. I've seen these everywhere in tons of different styles, and I have this really low quality oven baked clay from Walmart that I really need to get rid of. So, I mean, you can see here it bleeds all over my fingers. It like almost melts in my hands, kind of strings off when I'm touching it, and you'll see a lot of that in the footage here. but I wanted to use it up since I did spend money on it. So I'm making a little apple. I'm rolling it into a shape of like a circular shape. And here you can see it's kind of sticking to me and like flaking off a little bit. And I'm trying to remedy that by smoothing it out again. And I'm setting it on the side of the mug, and the pinching motion actually forms the shape of the apple. So if you put your finger and thumb over both sides and push it down, you get the shape of almost a bitten apple. Next, I just cut off the corner of this green, and this is a way better quality clay, and you can totally tell when I'm using it. It doesn't bleed at all. It's still firm enough to hold its shape. It doesn't flake or melt or anything. So I just pinched the sides of it. Made sure I made it look like a teeny tiny little leaf, and I smoothed it into the red clay that I had already set on the side of the cup. Made sure it was pretty much how I wanted it to look. And then, of course, peeling it off also posed a bit of a challenge. It kind of stuck to the cup really in really obvious ways. And I almost wish I would have baked it on the side with the notch in it, because after putting it in, not only did the color dull a little bit, but it almost sort of burnt my clay. And I did follow the instructions. I actually brought it out earlier than I was supposed to, and it still had this little burn mark on the back here. So I ended up taking some red paint, in a bright red, and painting over it so that it wouldn't look so dull. You can really see the difference between the two clips here. Once the entire thing is coated, you can start making your tea. This is the cup that I cut the Passion Tea logo off the back of, so that I could use it on the candle. So I definitely needed one of these here. So that'll hold it in here. So while I put in my sugar, mix around my tea as necessary, and I'm going to let it steep for about 5 minutes. I don't know about you, but I like my tea with 2 teaspoons of sugar, and that's it, and I think it's fantastic. Well, that's really all I had for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll be seeing you in my next video. See ya!